Good afternoon, good evening, Niner faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Sneakerhead Call-In Show, where members of the channel get to call in on video or off video, whatever is your preference, and state your opinion. This show is all about you. So let's get into it with no further ado. Just a housekeeping item. Sorry for being a minute late. Actually, in the pregame, I got a couple of guys in the round table and we popped in and started a conversation. And so just had to continue that going. You know me, I like dialogue. I like to have a good conversation going. And so, we got into it. We were having a friendly chat. We will get into some of those things that we were talking about in just a little bit. I do want to say that in the comments section right now, you can see a couple of comments by yours truly, Rob Schuh. There's a link there that if you are a sneakerhead will take you to the community tab of my YouTube page, where all in. Hit that link. You'll be taken backstage just like Sean951, that Niner guy, and Korean 49er are right now. And then you'll get your chance to come on. If you're not a member of the channel, after you've hit subscribe, there should be a button there that says join. If you hit that join button, then you can become a sneakerhead on the channel. That's how you get access to the call-in link. Looking forward to this show. First and foremost, kicking it off. Thankfully, we didn't have a show last week because he was on vacation, so he gets to continue his perfect attendance record here in the call-in show. We've got Sean951 Niners. Sean, welcome to the program. How you doing, man?
Rob, I'm doing good, but not better than you, man. Congrats on last week. That was I felt like I was vicariously living through you while listening to all of your live shows. So that was cool. Congratulations.
I appreciate that, man. I had a blast at the Combine. That was like a dream come true bucket list type of an event for me. It was trying to soak it all in. I had no idea just how jam-packed everything was. The docket was full. I mean, it started with 8 a.m. interviews with all of the candidates, and then it would go through to lunch, break for a little bit, and then over to Lucas Oil Stadium, where the frickin' events went until 11 o'clock at night. It was wild.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just listening to you speak. I have no idea. I just know what I see on TV in regard to the Combine. But again, I mean, shoot, with you being, a year plus into this and at the Combine, I mean, hey, going to the draft, I mean, hopefully you'll be in the front office of the 49ers soon, giving us all the insight we need.
I'm telling you, that's the dream and that's the goal. We will make it happen one step at a time. So what's on your mind? We got a lot of, finally, Sean, we have a lot of news that has been going down. Not the one piece of news that I think Niner fans like myself are very anxious for. I put out a tweet today about, dear 49ers, I'm waiting for you to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Please do it soon so I can stop refreshing Twitter incessantly. And it's currently sitting at about 1,400 likes. So there are a lot of people in that same boat that really want to hear about Jimmy Garoppolo. But we got big news in Rodgers. We got big news in Russell Wilson. You could say that those are the initial dominoes. You could argue that maybe the Brady retirement was the first domino to fall, but these are the first major dominoes to fall that really give a sense that the Niners may be next.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, to me, I don't really care about the Garoppolo thing right now. I mean, Lynch and Shanahan and the team, they're smart. They're going to maximize him in one way, shape, or form. Obviously, you don't want to overplay your hand.
Right.
But they've got time. They've got time right now. The other teams are more desperate than we are to get rid of him. We're going to move him. It's just a matter of what do we get back. But to me, the biggest story is we just gained 2 wins the next season guaranteed and the foreseeable future because of Seattle. You just traded away your two. Yeah, you traded away your number 1 and number 2 captains.
That's wild.
Wilson and Wagner. And I believe Wagner's going to end up on the Rams. The Rams linebacker core is garbage. Wagner wants more Super Bowls, and he's most likely going to go there because that's just what they do.
It makes sense. Unfortunately, it's a prime landing spot for him.
But I'm not afraid because he can't cover anybody anymore. He's just a good run stuffer, and he pretty much, he's on the downslide of it. He's still good, but he's on the downslide. But in terms of Russell, he's with Denver again. I have allegiance to one team. I don't care. He can win MVP over there, do what he wants to do. If I see him in the final game of the year, let's get it. But other than that, I'm just glad to see him gone because now when I look at that schedule, they've lost their 2 top captains. I don't, unless Lance underperforms here heading into those weeks, and we don't have the optimism that we have prior to the season. I mean, again, those two games we played with them hurt us every year. It seems like if we could have just pulled out those games when we were when we truly weren't underdogs, we would put ourselves in a much better position each of those years. Like hence last year having to play week 18 because we laid eggs in those games, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely benefits the 49ers. I mean, you see Trent Williams come out with his tweet saying, I will not miss you, Russell Wilson. Thank goodness you're out of the NFC West. I think that there's probably a shared sentiment amongst the rest of the team and 49er faithful in that it does feel like Seattle is now in the midst of a rebuild. It feels a little weird to have a coach at Pete Carroll's age commit to a rebuild. So I'm a little bit trepidatious to assume that it'll be a full rebuild and that they won't make some bigger move like a trade for a Deshaun Watson. Until all the dust settles, I'll be a little skeptical that Seattle won't make some type of a move to put themselves back into contention. But at least for the moment, it feels like they will be mostly irrelevant in the NFC West for the coming years.
I couldn't agree with you more. He's not going to rebuild. He's counting on tomorrow's big news from Deshaun Watson's case. None of us know what that is.
No.
But to me, it's very simple. I mean, when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks, if this is a criminal charges, peace, move on. He's not going to be playing for a very long time. Who cares to speculate when, but just that's maybe never. If it's civil, who cares? That's monetary. He's going to pay it off. It's not going to matter. And I think all those number ones and what they have there, they're going to move that down to the Texans. They're going to get Watson in there. And now he's got revitalization. He just has to do a little bit more work with other pieces on that team. But now he can compete at least in our division again and piss us off because, honestly, I don't know who I'd rather see. Maybe I'd rather see Russell Wilson there than Deshaun Watson. I mean, who knows if Deshaun Watson, after a year off, I don't know what he's been doing.
Right.
Maybe he hasn't gotten better, right? They say if you're not working, you're getting worse. I don't know, but they have to have a trick up their sleeve because I agree with you. He's not 70 years old trying to do the 2011 start over. I agree with you 100%. Or they wouldn't have gotten rid of Wagner. They wouldn't have needed his $16 million. They would have stayed with it to keep the catalyst, to keep leadership. He got rid of both of them.
To sell tickets, yeah.
So, and I saw a funny tweet by someone today. It said, breaking news, the Seahawks officially released the 12th man. I thought that was hilarious.
That cracked me up.
That's hilarious. So, but either way, I mean, that to me was the most exciting news was Wilson. The Rodgers I'll touch on very small. Yes, obviously he's playing back in Green Bay. We could talk on this later if you want me to elaborate on it, but everyone on here knows I said Rodgers would be a 49er this year. He's not. But also, don't be fooled by his contract. That contract is not what you believe, the 4-year, $200 million. He still has an opt-out after this next season, and once again, he will be out of there without a trade. He can bounce. That's why Devontae Adams signed his franchise tag, was because we can have a last dance with him this year. But anyways, that's for another year to talk about. But I think the 49ers are going to give themselves this year to see what Lance does with our core, see if we can take the next step, compete in our division, ultimately assuming the Rams get better.
Right.
And make an educated decision after that to see what their remaining 2 years of Lynch's contract looks like in terms of what are you doing with our team, and see what Shanahan has in Lance. Because at the end of the day, you give him 17 games, hopefully 21 or 20. We're gonna
right. If you go undefeated in the regular season at 17-0, you're probably not playing in that first playoff game.
That's true. But I mean, just in the sense of now none of us can talk about Lance's 2 games and some preseason.
That's right. He's
no longer one-play Trey in the media. We'll get a full season with him. We can have full feeling and belief of his trajectory throughout the season, the way he navigated, depending on a record and the situation and primetime games. So I look forward to this season. It's going to be a huge telltale for the next 4 to 5 or 10 years of organization based on Lance's progression.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the take that I see in Matthew Mears coming in with comment. This isn't just a 1 year, see what Lance is type of a move. I tend to see it as the 49ers committing to Lance long term, and that, they gave up so much to get him. However, I will say that anything can change, right? That may be how the 49ers view it right now. That's certainly how I see it right now. if something happened this year after you get a full 17 games with Lance, they could certainly alter that plan at that time. But it seems pretty clear the message that they're sending out is that, hey, we're moving forward. Lance is our guy. We're committed to him, and he's the future of this franchise. I think regardless of how fervently they believe that, that's the messaging that has to go out at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obvious, right? I mean, that Lance, our quarterback this year, I'm not saying they're giving him a 1 year make it or break it in his first 20 games. I'm just saying there's no choice at this point. Jimmy going to be gone because he has to. We need his money to build around Lance. But these next 17 to 20 games that Lance is going to play for us, assuming he's healthy to play all of them, Shanahan and Lynch will know. They're going to know what they have in terms of, can he take us to the next level next year, the year after, or who knows, right? I mean, did he play horrendous? Like, we just don't know. But this year is going to tell us everything we need to know about 2023 because we will have options at that point, and the salary cap won't be 208. It'll probably be north of 235.
It's crazy how much it's going to go up. I don't believe the estimates that we're seeing right now for 2023. I think they're low. I absolutely believe once that gambling revenue comes in from this year, that cap is going up.
I think it hits $300 million within the next 3 years.
Woof. That would
That's
be
my
huge.
opinion. That's my
huge.
Yeah.
I like that prediction.
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, I mean, a lot of people don't really understand how that completely works, but you're right. There's a few deals that just flat out haven't even taken place yet to affect the cap. The only thing right now that's coming into play to boost it up outside of COVID is DraftKings and their relationship and deal with the NFL. It's another $300 million that the NFL made off of that. So They're pushing that. I mean, so as you have TV deals and other things come into play, the money's absurd. That's why they always say the NFL, protect the shield, et cetera. It's just such a huge business. And as you said, represented by running an outstanding combine, which is just for players that aren't even in the NFL yet.
I'll tell you, I was so impressed by what the NFL put on at the Combine, by the fact that there was, this huge setup in the Indianapolis Convention Center. They had this enormous room set up for media. It had printers hooked up so you could print out whatever you needed to. It was catered. There was freaking breakfast and lunch throughout the entire day. It was just top notch. I mean, the amount of money that got poured into that event from someone who's put on much smaller events, but at a corporate level, it was mind-boggling to consider the amount of money that goes into that. And Indianapolis clearly values it as a city. I mean, they were the folks that I talked to where we were talking about it potentially moving to LA, to Dallas, the regular folks in Indianapolis, you could tell they were sort of heartbroken by this idea that it might move, because it is that central of an event. It has been happening there for so long, and everything around the stadium becomes engulfed in what the NFL puts on. I mean, those steakhouses, St. Elmo was phenomenal to eat there, but it was also just like you were sitting at the table next to me was a WNBA player. At the table across was an agent. Like, everyone that left the restaurant said goodbye to like 15 people. They all knew each other from the industry. And that was the vibe to the whole freaking Combine. Like, I felt accepted as someone who's just a neophyte in this media, adventure that I'm on. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, another thing too, I mean, it's a good strategy to put it in somewhere like Indy, because it's not Vegas, it's not LA, Miami, New York, Chicago, places where you can get distracted very easily, and bad press can come out of that for a multitude of ways, right? So I think it's smart to have it there. Plus, I've been to that stadium too. It's perfect for something like that, where you're putting a lot of college kids to give themselves an opportunity to become professionals and change their lives. You do something like that in Vegas and you have a Henry Ruggs situation. You do something like that in LA, they're out too late. There's just distraction. So I think it's smart for them to have it in a central location where it is more, it's not as populated for fantasy. It's a lot more of, hey, you're here. This is your bubble, for lack of a better term. And, this is what we do. This is what we're about. And we're going to set it up to make you successful if you work hard enough.
No doubt. It becomes a business trip, all about business. I'm with you on that. All right, Sean, I'm going to roll down to those down in the waiting room and hopefully bring it back in for a round table at the end, if you're still around, my friend.
Absolutely. Hello, faithful. Good to see you.
Nice. Appreciate it, Sean. Always phenomenal there. Bringing in that Niner guy next. That Niner guy, how you doing, man?
What's up, buddy, dude? I'm doing phenomenal. The boogeyman is gone.
The
He's gone.
boogeyman is gone. Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, we get to freaking play him next year. Like, I mean, how random is that, though, that he goes to one of the teams that's already on the freaking schedule for 2022?
Dude, I mean, listen, once every 4 years and maybe an SB
I'll take
appearance
it.
against them, I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll friggin' take it.
Not the slaughtering of this franchise that he's pulled off over the last 9 years. I mean, it's insane how good he was against us. I mean,
Oh, my God.
there's like maybe 5 players in the last 20 years that have been just dominant, that have just ruined the 49ers. Russ is one of them. Larry Fitzgerald, who
Oof.
just always, Anquan Bolden always kicked us in the gear.
Yeah.
And then I would say Marshall Falcon and Kurt Warner. I'd say
Ooh, those are good ones. Julio was pretty good against us too. We struggle against those big-bodied, athletic wide receivers, as does everyone. But
That's
yes,
why we don't
those
draft
guys
corners.
definitely had our number.
Yeah, because we don't draft corners. That's why.
No. What do you mean draft a corner?
We wait to the third round.
That's absurd.
That's absurd. Who would do that? Anyway,
Do
man.
you, okay, let me ask you this, because I'm admittedly confused by the linkage, other than the fact that we get linked to frickin' every free agent that has ever existed. Oh, the San Francisco 49ers are doing their due diligence. Do you believe the hype around JC Jackson? Do you think the 49ers would actually pivot? I mean, this would be a hard frickin' pivot and spend 20 plus million on a lockdown number one corner.
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
And there's a lot of reasons for it. So,
Okay.
number one, drafting Ambry Thomas says a lot more about where this defense is going, because, you know, we've been a kind of a cover 3 cloud overlook. I mean, one safety down,
Right.
one safety over the top, corners in the deep third. It's very somewhat predictable defense. Now, drafting Ambry, that's not Ambry's game. Ambry is a bump and run corner.
Press. Yeah.
He's press man. Maybe drifting into that cover 2. He played pretty well in the cover 2 against the Bengals. I know he looked bad a couple times, but it wasn't that bad.
No,
all
and
things
you have to
considered.
understand a guy with his play style, the press play style that took that year off and wasn't able to, put on the mass needed. He was already a pretty lanky guy. I think the year in the Niners weight room is going to work wonders for him. I anticipate that he'll be more comfortable in the defense next year.
Yeah, and the one thing about the Niners is, like, why have we lost important games the last few years? And it's really simple. We don't play man-to-man press man defense because we couldn't.
Right.
Sherman doesn't give you that option.
No,
The Niners,
Verrett could, but he's not on the field.
exactly. You can't trust Verrett. If you bring him back for 1 year, $1 million, I'm cool with that. Because
Great.
you know what? If he gets hurt in preseason, all right, well, it didn't cost you much anyway.
Right.
That's sort of where that is. Mosley is pretty good at everything. He's not a superstar at one thing. He's pretty good at everything. He's not terrible in man. It's not like he's getting toasted. Like, even if you're wondering, like, about the NFC Championship game, Mosley got beat up because they were playing off, because K1, they did not trust K1 at all. They were terrified that if they played man one rep, Cooper Kupp was going to torch him and he was going to be gone. And I understand that. So the Ambry and Cooper and Mosley are playing off. So I think the one thing with JC Jackson is it allows you to take just to get the quarterback's eyes moving off the first target.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we haven't, even going back to Harbaugh, I mean, we could never do that. We've always
Give the pass rush an extra beat to get to the quarterback.
just something different, right? I mean, just someone with a little bit of fear that he could take it for 6. It's not so much of, he's not, JC Jackson's a good cover man. He's not a great cover guy, but he's got a nose for the football.
Yeah.
And those sort of guys are rare. And the one thing I like about JC Jackson, I've been watching a little bit of his stuff, is that on third down, he travels, and he'll travel into the slot. He'll travel, on either side of the field. That doesn't matter. And it just gives you more of a look. You're not as predictable. And the 49ers defense in the secondary has been really predictable. Jimmy Ward's always coming down over the tight end. Fred Warner and the whatever linebackers next to him is dropping the deep third. One of them's taking the slots, taking the flat, the classic hook to flat zone, and then tart over the top. It's been just really simple.
Yeah,
and they play
mildly
fast
conservative, you might say, aside from the blitzes that D'Amico has timed fairly well, or at least did this season.
And D'Amico sort of was solid at it, I think, starting in 2020. But D'Amico has really impressed me as far as how to get a blitz going, how to really pressure a quarterback to run into a blitz. Because that's the key to about blitzing for a defensive coordinator. It's not about just bringing guys.
Right.
It's making the quarterback step into somewhere he normally would feel safe and that he's not safe.
Right.
That is something that D'Amico does very well. It's weird. It's like he called the game when he was on the field. It's weird. Like he was a middle linebacker.
Funny how that works.
Weird how that works. But yeah, no, I think J.C. Jackson's real. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay.
Because it just, I mean.
So you think the interest is real, but the Niners won't seal the deal?
Well, I just think someone else is going to bid a crazy number and outbid.
Yeah. I like Wanda Brown's comment here. Not a pivot. They just wanted to shore up the team before worrying about a corner. Now they need a game changer there. That certainly could be a philosophical view of what they're looking to do. They wanted to build everything else. Now they have that. The way to get the defense over the top is with that shutdown corner. Sean951 disagreeing at Rob Schuh. Niners are not spending $20 million this year for a cornerback. The cornerback is not why we lost last year. We have a formula, and if injuries derail it, then it is what it is. Can't predict that. I mean, when I look at tipping the scales, when I'm considering whether they will or will not do this, it is their historic a pattern that I lean on when I say there's no way they do this, because to this point they just haven't. But to Wanda's point, it could be that they held off on making that move because they saw it as the final piece to the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they did with Sherman too. I mean, they felt like in 2018 they could compete, and they added Sherm. They spent big money on him, even though he wasn't. Maybe one season he was worth what he was getting paid, but he wasn't worth that. That's the thing with corners, right? It's so hard. But the difference with JC, he's 26. He's young.
Right.
It's not like you're signing a 28-year-old guy who's going to be 32 at the end of his contract.
No, he is in his prime.
Yeah, he's going to be in his prime through the duration of the contract. And that's something that doesn't happen a whole lot in free agency.
It doesn't. No. And someone who has come up underneath Bill Belichick, who is arguably one of the best secondary coaches in the league, right? I mean, you have someone who certainly there was a little bit of question marks about him coming out of college, right? A few behavioral questions that people had, but zero trouble in the league, played in New England, has the talent. You can clearly see it on the film. It is rare that a guy like this hits free agency in their prime, and hence why he's going to make 20 plus million.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see too. I mean, there's no guarantee. I mean, we're assuming he's going to get 20 million.
Yeah.
He may not. I mean, because he is a shorter corner. He's not exactly the Bill. He's not Jalen Ramsey. Like, that's the other thing too. He's not Jalen Ramsey. So paying him more than that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It does not.
Yeah, so it's going to be about the number, and the Niners stick to their number. The only time they don't is for their own guys. And I respect that. That's a good way to do business because you know them. You know what the highs, what the lows look like.
Right. And Sean951 Niners points out Sherm was $10 million a year, 3-year, $30 million, $10 million is fine. I don't have the contract numbers in front of me, but I'm counting on the fact that Sean is at least in the ballpark with those numbers there.
I thought it was 15 a year.
Was it 15? So I could see the Niners. That's about in between 10 and 15 is about where I see it, where I could see them going after a Stephon Gilmore and attempting to get him down, fill in that slot corner position at an upgrade over K'Wan Williams, and spending a little bit of money on, someone who's a more middle of the pack cornerback. I just struggle to see them paying big money. James Dobson pointing out the last guy they paid big money for was Nate Clements. Yes, I still have a mug that has 4 numbers in each corner, and one of them is 22 because they were hyping up the Nate Clements ad. That didn't quite pan out for the San Francisco 49ers.
You know what I will say, though? At least they got Justin Smith that year.
Yes.
And at least they got one right.
Hit on one, missed on the other. The hit was bigger than the miss, I would argue, in that case. That's all that matters. Your wins just have to be bigger than your losses. I also agree with interrupts, not to take us off track, but I really like the idea of going after DJ Reed because he is that less expensive, homegrown talent. Yes, he went over to Seattle and he's stained with that neon green blue on his jersey now, but I'd be happy to bring him back because to me, that fits more of the pay scale the Niners are looking to fit the cornerback position into.
Well, they like him. They didn't release him.
They waived him injured.
Yeah, they waived him injured, and he was hurt.
Yes,
and so
he would have reverted to the practice squad. It would have gone swimmingly if the Seattle Seahawks had just been looking the other way.
Yeah, well, they've been poaching our guys for years.
Yes, they have.
There's a big list of it.
They've turned on notifications for 49ers releases. They're like, oh, okay, we'll take that.
It's been a Pete Carroll special, but yeah, though they like DJ Reed. Now the question is, it's going to be the numbers. I mean, first of all, they got to move Jimmy first.
Yeah.
First, second, they will probably restructure a guy or extend a guy or two. Second, so we won't really know what the cap numbers are going to look like realistically until I would say Monday, and then even then, do they re-sign Lakin? Do they re-sign DJ? Those the big question marks still kind of lingering going into free agency. So once you kind of have that number, you can kind of have an idea of what they're looking for. But I mean, I expect the Niners to be aggressive because again, the window is open.
Yes, it most clearly is open.
Yeah.
And it's a short window if you want to take advantage of Trey Lance's contract, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the advantage of having the rookie on the rookie deal. Because he was picked 3rd overall, the last couple of years in his deal actually aren't all that cheap. You got to strike while the iron is hot, and that iron is hot right now.
Yeah, and we'll at the roundtable when we talk about the Rodgers thing, I want to bring up something about my counter argument to Sean. That's right, Sean. I'm kidding. But no, we'll talk about why it'll be good for Trey. But
yes,
guys, in general, this is a really prime situation with 49ers to be in. They have a lot of their studs, their captains locked down long term.
Yes.
They dictate the terms on when they can get rid of them. It's not going to be a mass exodus like it was in 2014 or 2015. The Niners are in a really good spot. And if they play their cards right, they could be walking into the season as the favorite. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's very possible. And I'm starting to trust this front office more.
I'm telling you, if my ideal scenario would be that the Niners go after JC Jackson because of the fact I agree with GD5 here. I am in love after the combine. I didn't see him run any drills. I am in love with Marcus Jones. You know, when you just get a vibe from somebody, I got that vibe from Marcus Jones, one of the most intelligent people I spoke to that week. And he had a confidence. I don't care that one of his shoulders was in a sling and that he just had surgery on the other shoulder and that he's only 5'8". Like, I don't care about any of that. I got a freaking vibe from the guy. I want him to be our primary kick returner and our primary slot. But I'd be okay. I think because of the shoulder surgeries that he may go a little bit later in the draft, I'd be okay if we brought back K'Wan Williams and had Marcus as the primary kick returner and special teams ace to begin with. And then he eventually became that slot corner. But to me, that's why the DJ Reed, I like that move. But that takes Marcus out of the equation. And I'm so infatuated with Marcus Jones that I got to have him on the team. So it's got to work in a different way. If we go JC Jackson as a lockdown corner, we still got room for Marcus in the nickel.
Yeah, no, that's the thing when you get to the draft process, being at the combine, you were there, man. You getting to connect with these guys a bit and you're like, oh, dude, this guy's sick. I mean, but no,
if I just watched O'Neal, the safety, run his drills, I wouldn't have been so impressed. But he had a vibe to him as well, a confidence. I mean, a real confidence, the kind of confidence that made you look around is he just going to get up off of the presser and come down here and manhandle me a little bit? This dude has some fire in his belly. It was cool, man. It was really cool to see all that.
O'Neal's an interesting prospect because he had 75 D1 scholarships. I'm not kidding.
75.
The entire SEC, the entire ACC, the entire Big Ten, most of the Pac-10. He was a really big time prospect coming out of high school, but the tape is, it's just So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. A lot of people like him. I'm not as high on him as other people.
I missed the name before all that. Was that O'Neal or Jones? O'Neal. Yeah. I tell you, I was very impressed at the presser. And then as I watched him run, because he was right before Petrie, it was like compare and contrast. It was tight, not fluid. Oh my God, fluid as hell. Just silky smooth. And it didn't help O'Neal that it was one right after the other. It was totally not, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, no. But the question with Petrie's, what position are you going to play? Right. Because I mean, is he a slot? Is he a safety? He played a hybrid role at Baylor, which is a little hard to project. And it's just for context, if you for people who don't watch college football, he played a very similar role to Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who all translated to linebackers in the NFL. And he doesn't have the size for that, right?
No.
And he's always sort of off the ball, not impressed man. So that's the question: is like, what position is he actually going to play?
Right.
Now the defense was awesome because he's an awesome athlete.
Yeah.
But
and the Niners have an epic defense that does cherish flexibility. And so you could see a fit, but with the natural hole left by Jaquiski Tartt, it's not as clean of a fit as some of the other safeties for sure.
Exactly. Like he doesn't have a whole lot of reps in single high. So it's not a 1-to-1 comparison.
And you already have Jimmy, who's like the more Swiss Army knife of the two, who comes down and covers tight ends, as you were talking about.
Yeah. Jimmy's going to move a strong safety this year. That's for sure going to happen. They're going to finally let him be up at the line of scrimmage where he's at his best, and then mixing him in and out once in a while. But
I like that call.
He's going to be the strong safety.
I like that call.
Yeah,
nice. That not a guy. You want to stick around for the panel at the end, man?
Always.
All right, I will be back with you, good sir. Always phenomenal. Thank you very much. All right, I am going to bring in a comment because Alan's doing the good work. For those of you watching, please do consider hitting that like button. We got over 100 people watching right now. I would love to see the likes get up to that number. It is the off season. You're helping me do the good work. All right, we are going to bring in Korean 49er with the phenomenal restaurant recommendations for Indianapolis. Let me tell you, that steakhouse was phenomenal, my dude. Oh, you're muted. Do we have an audio disconnect? Oh, man, you got to jump out, jump back in? Okay, I will bring in Korean 49er in just 1 second. William Bennett, I'm going to be with you in a moment. I'm going to see if Korean Niner comes back in, and then we will give it a try. Here we go. Round 2.
Can you hear me now, Rob?
Yes, sir. We got you. Did you hear me, man? I love the steak. I had the bone-in ribeye. It was phenomenal. I met the server. This dude, Mark, had been working there 19 freaking years. Just 1 year prior, he finally got Sundays off. The man had to work his restaurant 18 years before he got Sundays off because he's like the 6th most tenured waiter there. There are 5 people that have been there longer than 19 years, dude. Crazy, crazy place with so much rich history. It was real cool.
I usually get the porterhouse, so
that's a good cut.
Can't complain about that.
No, sir. How you feeling about these quarterback trades, man? Are we about to see the final domino that we care about go down?
I'm one of those kind of people that says, I'll believe it when I see it. Because this this management has blew up so many times on possibly moving him. If you said, hey, we're going to get a first rounder, as you know, when you're in Vegas, I was just in Vegas a few weeks ago. Hey, man, if I'm at the poker table, I got to ante up, or blackjack table, I'm anteing up if I'm thinking I'm going to win.
There you go.
And they haven't done it for whatever reason.
No.
To me, you've already, as a front office, you've already said, hey, this was Jimmy's last season with the team.
Right. It's a done deal.
Yeah. So to me, you've kind of diminished the asset.
Yes.
So right there.
Teams know that your plan is to go forward with Trey Lance. Absolutely.
Exactly. So that's why I don't think they're going to get very much. If you get a couple of low round picks, just take it and run, as they say with the Steve Miller Band, take the money and run. So just go from there. I would have liked to trade with Indy if we could get Quentin Nelson, but I know that's not going to happen.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm interested by some of the suggestions of trading for players instead of picks, like Claypool with Pittsburgh instead of, whatever pick correlates to him. I've always said Pittsburgh for a 2 and a 4, and I stay with that. That's my official prediction. But I could see Claypool and a 4 instead of a 2 and a 4, because that would bring back a quality player. I feel like a second rounder for Claypool feels about right as far as the level of compensation that you would pick him up. But it'll be interesting to see. I can't imagine that it gets as low as late round picks. I think after you see the Carson Wentz deal for a couple of thirds, one of them being a potential second rounder next year, to me, that's about the level of what you'll see for Jimmy Garoppolo. Less as an athlete, but more as a leader. And I think it certainly could be Indy that trades for Jimmy.
I take that second round pick they got back from Washington as along with maybe something else.
Yes, sweeten the deal. Because to me, you have to have a little something. I don't know. I feel like if it were going to be for late round picks, the Niners probably already would have done it. The idea that it hasn't happened yet leads me to believe that there are, in fact, a couple of teams in on this, as the national reporters are putting out there.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think he has any trade value personally, but
yeah,
as they say before, we'll see what happens before the legal tampering period starts.
That's right. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And you may not think Jimmy is beautiful, but a lot of people out there do.
I guess so. But on the J.C. Jackson topic, I'd rather trade for Xavier Howard because he gets more interceptions. Because you got to remember when you got, let's just use a reference defense, the 85 Bears. They got pressure on the quarterback and they got a lot of turnovers.
Yes.
And what are we lacking right now?
Turnovers.
So, as we said, as been proposed before, I wouldn't mind giving up George Kittle a year early for Xavier Howard with Kittle with the post June 1 designation to get the 11 to 12 million back.
It is an interesting trade idea. I was just listening to Grant Cohn's show with Larry Krueger, and they were talking through that exact scenario. And I find myself more on Larry's side of it, where I just can't see the 49ers trading Kittle. But I also, like Larry, agree with Grant's assessment that it is concerning, the injury history. Like if you're just looking at the player, the production, and the injury history, then I think the trade becomes a little more palatable. But when you look at from a business perspective, from a team perspective, from a locker room perspective, I think that's where I get lost in believing that the Niners would part ways with George Kittle. I think he brings more value in those areas that we're not taking into account when we just talk about his production.
I understand what you're saying, but you also got to look at, this is a different sport, but remember the St. Louis Cardinals had Albert Pujols and they didn't re-sign him after that second World Series in 2011, give or take. I don't know if you follow baseball or not.
I do. I'm excited because that means I get to, I'm the returning champion from my fantasy baseball league, and that means I get to defend my title.
There you go. So at the time I believe he was going to be a free agent the next year or the year, after that World Series or the year after. And they didn't retain him. But, he still had a couple good seasons with the Angels or whatever city they're playing in.
Right.
You could see that he still had like 30 to 40 home runs, but then you kind of saw the downward trajectory he was having with his career.
Yes.
So that's where I'm kind of seeing with George Kittle. He may still have – I just don't – with the amount of injuries he's had, those kind of traumatic injuries to his lower body.
Yep.
That's going to affect his quickness and, No
doubt. One of his best assets is his speed. If he has another injury or two to his lower body, you could see that taking away his best asset.
Yeah. And
yeah. Now, okay, so if you trade away Kittle, though, you have a big hole at tight end because Ross Dwelley, it doesn't look like he's going to be re-signed. And you're certainly not rolling in with Charlie Warner as your starting tight end. You have a young quarterback. The tight end is a young quarterback's friend. Who do you got your eyes on to bring in if you vacate George Kittle?
I would at least look in the draft. I don't have a name yet, but at least I would scour what's out there.
Jelani Woods is my tight end in the draft. He's my number 2 tight end. I think he'd be better behind Kittle, but I think the dude's talented. I think you could find him in the 5th round again, like we did Kittle, and I think he's an athletic freak.
Yes. And to me, I don't believe that Seattle is rebuilding per se. I'm just one of those kind of opposite thinking people.
Yeah.
Because whoever is going to be the quarterback, the first thing I would do is rebuild their offensive line.
That makes sense.
Right now, it's like a woodpecker, at an oak tree, just making holes everywhere.
Yes.
So that's there
making
because
holes everywhere.
You got to remember, Russell Wilson got sacked a bunch of times last season. Do you think the next quarterback wants to go through the same thing?
No.
So I see them trying to rebuild the offensive line. I don't know, but I also see them maybe getting a Malik Willis too as a young quarterback, and not Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, right. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. If you go with the rookie, that is a rebuild in my book. So to me, they're targeting one of these other quarterbacks. To me, the most likely scenario seems like Deshaun Watson. That seems like the biggest fit.
It could be. I mean, who knows what's going to happen at the end of the week with his situation. So, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm just looking at how, to me, if I'm Jimmy, why would I want to go with the AFC West? Because I'm already going to be the worst quarterback in that division in case Derek Carr ever got.
But you got to think Jimmy doesn't really have a no trade clause anymore. It expires with the new league year. I know the Niners won't do poorly by him, but you could see him kind of flexing his leverage by getting that surgery when he did. But I think that was all the leverage Jimmy had.
Yeah, exactly. To me, I thought at the time they kind of outsmarted the 49ers front office and thought they could pull a fast one where it's like, no, you have a no trade at the end of the season. I mean, before just as the new year starts. So I thought they were trying to pull a fast one and get one by him, but I don't think that was ever going to happen.
No.
So,
all right, Korean 49er, I got to jump down to the waiting room down there. Got a couple of guys, William Bennett and Bullpup 33. But as always, dude, fantastic talking to you.
Thank you. I did arm day at the gym, so my arms are killing me right now.
Nice. I just started seeing a trainer myself to try and put some bulk on this skinny ass of mine. So, maybe someday I'll get up to that level.
Also, Lent's killing me since I'm not eating carbs. So,
oh, that is rough.
Beer's a friend, but I can give it up a bit.
Well, hey, thanks again for the restaurant recommendations. They were phenomenal, and I will see you again soon, sir.
Hopefully we'll meet up in Chicago. We'll see what happens.
Yes, most definitely. Deep dish pizza is on me, my friend.
We'll handle that as that comes.
Okay, good. All right, my friend. I'll see you again soon. All right, I got a couple of comments that I wanted to get to here. I like GD5, the way GD5 put this. It just bugged me when I hear people say Jimmy has no value. I always go, what? Have you seen some of the quarterback situations around the league right now? That's the key. It is a supply and demand equation. And the reality is around the league, the supply of quarterbacks is weak, real weak. Keith Murphy coming in with the super chat. I think Seattle would love to have Watson, but I don't see the upside for Watson to waive his no trade for Seattle. All these other quarterbacks of his caliber have went to ready-made situations. I do think you have to consider, though, Keith, that Deshaun's situation is a unique one, right? It's one where the team has to also be in love with him because of his legal situation. Right now, it's all civil and therefore most likely won't result in a suspension. But if he doesn't nip those civil cases in the bud and they go to court and some of the details come out and that hits the media, that changes the equation. If any details about Watson get released and they're ugly details, now all of a sudden the NFL could step in and suspend him for a little bit. So I get that he's young, talented, has a huge future ahead of him, but with the cloud of his legal situation hanging over his head, I just don't think that he can be as selective as the other elite quarterbacks who legitimately control where they end up. I think Watson's in that middle ground where he's going to have to take the suitors that come his way. And quite honestly, I mean, Seattle's a pretty darn good destination as far as franchises go. The state of the team, you could certainly argue that they're in a bit of a rebuild. He may want to be in a situation that feels more ready-made, to your point. But again, I just don't know that he has the leverage to really force that himself. I think he may be the one that has to take what comes to him and sort of accept that he's not going to get his ideal situation. Appreciate it, Keith. I am bringing in William Bennett to the channel. William, how you doing, my man?
Cheers. Hey, how's everyone?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Hey, man, I'm really happy for you for getting to enjoy that experience, man, for the first time. It looked like you was really having a ball, and who better to enjoy that than another 49er faithful such as yourself.
I appreciate that, William. I really did, man. I had a freaking blast at the combine. It was a phenomenal experience. I was so impressed with everything the NFL put on, and really just impressed by the fellowship, a great word that Chris Royal turned me on to, because I had been saying fraternity, but that felt so wrong because it's masculine energy, and there were plenty of women there at the combine. It was this fellowship of the media that felt so welcoming, that I felt a part of, even as a little guy, watching people like Peter Schrager, Ian Rappaport, all the big names that you saw there, just being completely open to someone completely unknown, walking up to them, starting a dialogue, and just having a real conversation. They didn't big time them. They didn't give them the Heisman. It was cool to see. You could tell all those media people respected the little guys because that's where they came from, right? They all came up the same way.
Right. I definitely feel that, and happy that you was there to give us the coverage that you gave. A lot of time I was watching the combine, I was trying to see you in the in the stands or walking past, but I didn't get to see you.
Apparently, I was very visible behind the start of the 40-yard dash. There were 2 days where I was back there, like literally, I was within 20 feet of the starting line, and there was apparently a shot where you can see me and Jordan Elliott. I definitely have seen ones of Jordan Elliott being visible, but I was right there in that same spot. So I got my eye out for it. I got to go back and watch it. I still have a bunch of footage that I need to go through and post to the YouTube channel. I'm going to do that starting tomorrow. So there's going to be content all this weekend coming out of podium pressers, of clips that I shot in the stadium. Just got so much raw footage that I haven't had time to process it yet, but that's going up on the channel for sure. So look out for that.
All right, great. I'll be looking for it.
Nice.
Okay, let's get into some of this Niners news that has breaking for us this week. First of all, Russell Wilson going to Denver. What a shocker. I did not see that happen. Hey, trust me, I'm overjoyed that Russell Wilson is finally out of our division, but I just didn't see Denver coming knocking. I did not see that.
I didn't. I thought they were going to land Rodgers. That's what I thought this entire time. I thought Rodgers was ready-made for Denver. I thought for sure Wilson was staying in Seattle.
I could see that. I honestly didn't think Russell Wilson was going to stay in Seattle. I just didn't see him in Denver. But, hey, you live and you learn. Yes. Second off is, man, just when I thought Washington could actually start to do something right, Carson Wentz, they messed my whole scheme up. I just knew they was gonna get Jimmy. I just knew we was gonna get those picks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? They just can't get right. I've never seen where a team percentage for a Super Bowl goes down when getting a veteran quarterback over a rookie. Yeah. I was like,
hey, we solved our quarterback situation. Vegas was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I was like, oh my goodness, Washington. That's why I told you when Grant kept saying stupid teams or dumb teams that would make mistakes, I was like, you don't know Washington.
Are you familiar with the Washington Commanders? They're a new team, but with the same old mistakes.
Oh my goodness. I say they just don't want to win. Trust me and hear me now. Don't be surprised to see this be Rivera's last season as the head coach of the Washington Commanders.
I believe that.
Because this was a must-win season for him, and Jimmy could have did it for him.
Yeah.
But, oh my goodness.
I feel like Washington suffered through the idea that they are one of the least enjoyable teams to play for. Like they are the lowest of the low in the NFL. When people are looking at their front office, when they're looking at their ownership, like it's just such a hot mess there that you would think any of these players that have an option are like, no, I'm not going to Washington. And by the way,
trust me.
For those that don't know, William is in DC, so he's close to the source. That's why he is so up on the Washington Commanders.
Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I even told you before I had Commanders fans talking about Jimmy. I think what people don't realize, as you said, that Jimmy is rated a lot higher around the league than we actually give him credit for.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Of what I heard in Indianapolis, that is a fact.
And the second thing is, I'm with you. A lot of people talking about, oh, there's no trade value for Jimmy. That is absolutely not true.
Right.
Jimmy has a lot of trade value. You got to understand something. Other than certain quarterbacks in this league, if you look at all these other quarterbacks who are free agent right now and you look at their win percentage against Jimmy's, Jimmy is a hot commodity to them. It's so many of them that, like a lot of people said, I was just actually at the barber shop and I asked my barber, if you had a choice of Jimmy or Carson Wentz, who would you choose? And overwhelmingly, people are choosing Jimmy over Carson Wentz. He's been in that division before. It's a reason he was pushed out of that division. And that was the NFC least. But back to Niner news.
For sure. I'm going to bring this in. This is Niner news, although it's not huge. But Chris Royal coming in with the super chat. Niners signed Nate Sudfeld. I saw that before the show. They signed him to a reserve future contract. So to me, this is the type of signing that still could result in Nate Sudfeld being on the practice squad and not on the 53-man roster. To me, this was no surprise. I do not think this is the 49ers going cheap on the backup quarterback position. I still expect them to bring somebody in that $8 to $10 million range as a backup quarterback, but definitely wanted to bring it in. It is relevant information along with the unrestricted free agents the Niners brought back. Jawan Jennings. That's the biggest news to me.
Yeah, that's
is
good.
that
that's
Jawan
good.
Jennings has been offered his tender. That's huge.
But
I still want him to sign him multiple years, but
I gotta say, Nate Sudfeld is starting to be the new Tim Tebow. Sorry. But I wanted to give homage to and a rest in peace to Johnny Greer, the first black referee for the NFL, who passed away recently. Just want to give a shout out to him.
cheers.
You know, I think we all have seen many, many seasons of him calling games, and you know, he'll be missed. He'll be missed.
Absolutely, a pioneer. I mean, you have to tip your cap to those people. You just, for those of us living in the now, you just cannot understand what they went through in their time. But you have to have an appreciation for it. You can't necessarily put yourselves in their shoes, but you can use your imagination and you can understand the types of shit, pardon my French, that he probably went through to be in the position that he was, and what going through that shit meant for other people in future generations. I am with you 1,000%. He deserves our respect, and he deserves that shout out.
Okay. My next thing would be Tart. I would like to see us bring Tart back if we can get him on a low end deal.
Yes.
If we can get him on a low end deal, great. He knows the system, bring him back. If not, I would see us reach out for DJ Reed. He's familiar with the system.
He definitely
and like
is.
I said, we never really meant to lose him. It wasn't like Witherspoon. We never really meant to lose Reed.
No.
The Niners thought they could be a little slick.
They got cute.
And Pete Carroll and them was sitting there like, oh no, they didn't. Real quick. We're gonna snatch that up real quick. So so yes, I think this is the time to bring him back. I think if we bring him back, he would help solve a lot of issues we have back there.
Yeah,
but I think
I see Tart heading another direction. I'm hearing from some inside sources that I can't verify that directly from the source, most likely Tart is looking elsewhere for his.
I just think it's time. Probably, I would love to have him back on a low end deal, but I think if he's not gonna leave now, his career I just don't see going forward. My other thing was one more thing: Seattle getting rid of Wagner. Whew.
It confuses me, dude.
Please do not let this guy stay in division. Do not let him go to the Rams.
To the Rams. Oh my God, that would be a nightmare.
Oh my goodness. Please no. I mean,
get him to the AFC. Get him to the AFC.
get him out of the division. I don't send him over there with Russell with Denver or something.
Right.
Just get him out of the division. Send him over there. Second thing is the Cardinals releasing Hicks.
Yes.
That was big. I don't hear a lot of being spoke about that, but that is big.
Yeah.
I don't think people really realize how devastating he is for the Cardinals. If people remember the game that Trey Lance played against Arizona, how effective Hicks was in that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's the type of player you don't wish injury on anybody, but when he's not there, you like, hey, this changes our offensive strategy totally up.
Yeah. I mean, it seems a little risky. Obviously, they're trying to get playing time for their two younger linebackers, but you're getting rid of a proven veteran. That is definitely the move carries some risk with it.
Yes, it does. Also, DJ Jones. Go ahead and hold the sauce up.
My man, you know I got to do it.
DJ Jones. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I think they like DJ Jones, but I don't think they really understand what he does for us.
They don't.
And what he actually did
for us. If they watch this channel, they might. But if they don't, then they don't realize.
Man, I really value DJ Jones. I like DJ Jones ever since 2019.
Yeah.
Even when he got hurt. It's a lot of times when I was like, dang, man, if DJ Jones was right there in that middle, we would not have that interior problem.
Nope.
Now, this is what I asked you, and this one is to you, Rob. Who would you rather re-sign, DJ Jones or Thompson?
Laken Tomlinson?
Yes.
If I'm going between the two, this is tough for me because I'm emotionally more attached to DJ Jones as a player. As far as percentage of snaps played, obviously Laken Tomlinson plays about double the snaps of DJ Jones. So you could argue that it would be the bigger impact, but then you have to factor in what's the drop off to the next player. Man, I really want them to sign DJ Jones. If I had to choose between the two, I think I would probably sign Tomlinson.
Okay. Look at it like this. I like Tomlinson, but you got to understand something. DJ Jones allows you to move players around.
Yes.
You got to understand something. Tomlinson, who was he next to? He was next to Trent Williams. Trent Williams can make a lot of people look good.
Look real good.
You understand? Look real good. So honestly, I like Tomlinson, don't get me wrong, but I think we honestly can plug somebody else there and bring them up the same way we did Tomlinson. Honestly.
See, that's my thing about DJ is like I don't think he's replaceable, but Chris Kocurek,
think he's replaceable.
Chris Kocurek can coach folks up like nobody's business, and I don't have that same faith in Forrester over there on the offensive line. So to me, we've done more with these cast-offs from other teams along the D line. So my hope is you can continue to get that. But again, like I said, I'm emotionally committed to DJ Jones. I mean, quite clearly, the man is a prop in my show, so I can't.
I want to tell you. This is why I say DJ Jones is harder to replace than Tomlinson.
Okay.
DJ Jones, that center, that middle is not easy. You've seen with Epicon and Key, we're able to plug different people in.
Yeah.
You're not easy able to plug somebody in that middle like that and have the effectiveness of DJ Jones. Not only do DJ Jones is good against the run, but he's a quarterback. He sacks quarterbacks. You've seen when DJ Jones actually can take off from the middle and get to the outside as fast as very few in the league.
No other 6'1", 300+ pound man
his
doing
size,
what DJ Jones does.
At his size and run a quarterback or running back down once they're on the outside, that is a rare thing. So I think
William, I want to float this to the panel. I want to begin the panel and I want to get their take on whether we're doing Laken or DJ Jones? I want to see, because I feel really bad having said Lakin. Like, I still kind of believe that's a route you got to go with the young quarterback, but you made me pick against DJ Jones. You're killing me, William. You're killing me. But I got to hear what the guys have to say about it.
Trust the sauce.
Trust the sauce. All right, Sean. We're bringing in Sean and that Niner guy. We've got the panel. The panel is complete. All right, let's start off with, you're right below him, Sean. So what's your thoughts on, is it DJ Jones or is it Lakin Tomlinson if you only get to pick one?
For me, it's easy, Lakin all day. And here's the reason why.
Okay.
William, what you said is not inaccurate, but you use the term we have to understand, right? We have to understand that our quarterback is now Trey Lance. So if I'm going to make sure that Trey Lance, I know you're happy about that, Niner guy, this year. No. But
Play the kid.
But if I'm the brass of the 49ers and I really am going to Lance because he's our future, I want Williams with Tomlinson. I don't want a project at left guard with Lance's backside. We know he's mobile. We know he can move, but Lance ain't Mahomes right now from what we all know. I need him to focus on his reads and only worry about what's in front of his face, which is the right side of our line that needs to be fixed. He needs to know that he's locked down behind him. That's what Russell Wilson had in 2012, 2013 with Okung, Sweezy, and those guys. He always bailed around to them because he knew those guys were close to the line of scrimmage. That's where a lot of his big plays came from. Lance has to feel that same way. I love DJ Jones, but, man, our D-line is always good. It's always competent, and it always gets better throughout the season. So
I like that.
I don't want to take up 10 minutes.
No, quite all right. William, what do you think of that? Do you agree that that's a priority of keeping Lance upright and having that protection on the left side of the line? Does that sound like a compelling argument to you? Or
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Sean always brings a good, good facts, and I agree with what he's saying. As Lance learns, he does need that security. I just feel the O-line is going to change, and it's going to have to change. We probably worried more about the O-line because we all knew Jimmy was not mobile, and that line had to be strong for him. My thing is, now we need more of a O-line that's able to adjust to a moving quarterback. That's one of the reasons I think Kyle Shanahan went away from even putting Lance back there. The O-line was not used to having to have a mobile quarterback who's gonna be moving. And this may sound wild, but this is just off the top of my head. As much as I don't know if he's gonna make it back, but as much as people talk about McGlinchey is good on the run. He's used to moving pieces. It's just when that quarterback sits there that he has a struggle.
And
so
he did show improvement, though, in his pass protection this year before getting hurt. I am interested, though, in the fact that the rumors I heard, again, at the Combine, unsubstantiated, but fairly good source for these rumors, indicated the Niners are worried that McGlinchey won't be healthy come the start of the season, and they're looking at veteran options to sort of protect against that. So that also factors in for me, is that there's going to be a lot of flux on the offensive line, and my hope is to keep that at a minimum. That Niner guy, what are your thoughts? If you're picking between Lakin and DJ, who you picking, who you keeping?
It's easy. It's Lakin. One plays 100% of your offensive snaps. One plays 51% of your defense.
That's a big part of the equation.
It's nothing to do with the player because he's good. Like, there's no question. Like, you saw like, and I also think he's going to get paid because of that sack he pulled on Dak during the playoffs. Everybody saw it. Literally the entire country saw it. And some defensive coordinator is going to stand up in a room and be like, I need this guy. I need a guy like that. Someone's going to poach him. Yeah. And it's possible Lakin gets poached too. Like, it's not a guaranteed, like, it's coming back.
That's my fear is GD5 brought it in. They're probably both gone. Like, that's the sad part is we're like, hey, which one of the two? I want them both. I want them freaking both back in the building. Most likely one of the two is gone. There's a hell of a chance that both are gone. I think you're absolutely right about people being infatuated with DJ Jones, as they should be, because he's a phenomenal talent and he does things as a run stuffer as a pass rusher that's primarily a run stuffer that no other run stuffers are doing, man. He's just so mobile, so quick.
There's one little part of this that's going to be really frustrating. I know a lot of Niner fans are going to sigh, and I'm sighing with you, but I'm just saying how the organization's thinking. They're going to give Kinlaw a chance. So, I know. It's reasonable.
That was a collective sigh of the entire panel. Was like, oh God.
Yeah, I know. I'm right there with you. But the fact is, they traded this guy for DeForest Buckner. They have to try and make that work. And
you have to.
And this team is always in all NFL teams. It's not just the Niners, but they give them an opportunity. Now we'll see. I don't expect them to bank on. They're not going to sign any depth if they do lose DJ, but they're going to give Kinlaw more of a shot that he deserves.
Yeah, and you saw the tenders and the signings for Maurice Hurst and Kevin Givens. So they have already sort of built out that depth behind Kinlaw. But again, you're hearing from the sort of de facto mouthpiece for the San Francisco 49ers on the podcasting side, Matt Mayoko and Laura Britt on their most recent podcast. And they're certainly talking about Kinlaw and the 49ers having planted the seed that this surgery took care of it. This was the surgery that rectified the issue that's going on with the knee. He's finally right. We're finally going to get to see the true Javon Kinlaw.
Okay.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely, William.
I think the knee probably was an issue for him, but I never really thought it was fully the knee. I just thought it was his technique. I thought his technique just wasn't his hand play. His technique just wasn't, to me, moving to that next level. And he was getting beat. Not that he didn't have the power or anything. Right. It's just his technique was just not moving forward towards NFL. You just have some people who are great in college. Yes, in college they're great, but it's just they skill set just does not transfer to that next level. Yeah. And I just think that was the issue for him.
That's certainly a possibility. That Niner guy.
Yeah, no, the thing with Kinlaw is you could tell he has a knee injury, right? Because he plays really high. You know, if you're not having a lot of bend in your knees, you can tell real fast you have a lingering issue or you have some sort of issue. He plays really high, and because he plays high and he's a taller, longer guy, his hand placement's all over the place. Yeah, that's sort of like when they talk about D linemen and like why Nick Bosa is valued the way he is. It's because he plays so low. He gets his hands underneath people and lifts them up and beats them to where they want to be. And Kinlaw was a guy at South Carolina who just physically dominated people. And that's fine in college. Like Clowney was like that. Like, I'm just faster, bigger, stronger than you. Beat me. And that's that Kinlaw is learned real fast in the NFL. You can't do that.
Right. Sean 951. Then I'm bringing in a super chat from Chris Royal.
So I can speak on experience. I have ACLs in both my knees and MCLs on the same injury, high school football. My biggest issue coming back from those was I was not a chiseled athlete like Bosa. I was more of like a Kinlaw in terms of my size.
Yeah.
Incredibly strong, but not, if you looked at me, you would just think big guy. And my biggest struggle is exactly what you said, that Niner guy, and it still is today because I don't have the surgeons like Bosa and those guys have. When I get on an airplane and when my legs are at a 90-degree angle, I've got 5 minutes before I've got to move those legs out of that position. And when I was a catcher, and not to talk about me too much longer, but I was a catcher. That was my main sport, was baseball in high school. I was a really good catcher coming out of Centennial Corona, notable school in the early 2000s. I had to switch to first base. I couldn't handle sitting in that crouching position anymore after those injuries in the football season. So Kinlaw coming off of this, I'd be curious to see if he gets more explosive because he's not favoring that injury, or if Kasura can actually turn him into that monster like he's turned in every other player that's come under his wing. That I'm curious to see.
I am hopeful, but not very optimistic.
I'm hopeful too.
Yeah. All right. Chris Royal coming in. Trey is throw first, run last kind of quarterback. We need to keep our O-line as solid as possible. Love DJ, but Tomlinson is more important in these terms. I have to agree in that that's sort of the logic I followed. It was very tough for me to say any name other than DJ Jones in that question from William, but that is the logic that I followed. And it's because of the potential flux on the right side of the line. This idea that Mike McGlinchey may not be entirely healthy and that you may have a Band-Aid applied to the right tackle, at least for the beginning of the season, and then the right guard position being in flux. I just want to throw this out there because my ideal is for the 49ers to draft a future center who's going to take over for Mac next year when I assume Mac will retire, but that can play right guard this year. I would like to re-sign Tomlinson, so you have the same guy, left tackle, left guard, center. You have hopefully McGlinchey returning after not too long at right tackle, and you address that right guard spot. I'm in love with Cole Strange right now because of the frickin' combine. But how do you guys see the 49ers addressing the biggest unknown on the offensive line, that right guard spot? Do you think they go cheap, they go free agency, or they go draft? William, what's your sense of it?
Looking at the 49ers history, I think they're going to probably go cheap and try to build up that position.
Yeah, that's what they've done with interior O-line.
I don't see them spending a lot of money. The reason I'm with Lagerson is I just think Lagerson is going to command a lot of money. Yeah. And I just don't think we're going to pay him the money he's going to want.
I think Lakin probably gets paid.
He's going to be gone.
10 million plus. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to pay Lakin like 12 million or something like that, and he'll be gone. We're not going to pay him that.
So do you see then the Niners plugging Aaron Banks in at that left guard spot and addressing the right guard spot a little more?
They got to. They got to see what the kid got.
Yeah.
They're going to have to.
I did. Who was it? It was one of the O-line gurus of the NFL, Sean O'Hara, did say about Aaron Banks at the combine when we inquired. It was actually Jordan Elliott who posed the question. Did say he had a lower grade on Banks coming out of college. He viewed him more as a third-round prospect, so he was a little surprised at where the 49ers took him, but he had him as a gamer. He has him absolutely as a starting level interior O-lineman in the NFL, and so that gave me some solace. As someone who watches linemen for a living, watches nothing but tape of linemen, says, yes, I believe Aaron Banks will do okay when they give him enough runway to actually get out there. So I'd feel okay with that, but I get nervous when thinking about left guard and right guard being new to the Niners. That just makes me nervous. Sean 951, how are you seeing the Niners addressing that right guard position?
So this is a tough one because originally it was cheaper, expensive free agent. We're going to learn a lot about the NFL when this whole free agency starts to drop down, because for the first time in a long time, everyone knows the next 5 years of this cap is going to go nuts. So I'm really curious to see what teams are able to tell their players, look, I'm backloading the hell out of you so I can sign you now, get you on the books for 5 years, give you the guaranteed money, whatever that may be, and to see that strategy, because I don't see the 49ers going expensive for just a few years and having it hit the cap hard.
Right.
So to me, they either go cheap and draft, which to this point, who on our line have they drafted that's successful? Williams, free agent. Tomlinson came over. Matt
Trey
came over. Brunskill's from Shanahan's system. Compton's from Shanahan's system. So
the only draft pick was McGlinchey, and people have not been very inspired with where they picked him and his play.
Sure. So based on history, I would like them to go get me some free agents that we can backload for the future, so Lance next year has the best shot possible. But the one thing that we do different than I think maybe all but two teams in the NFL do on the O-line, we draft run linemen first. If you're good in the run game, Shanny knows he can use you for 2 downs every 4.
Right.
Because third down, if he has to pass, he knows that based on his system and the way that the defensive coordinators adjust against him, you don't normally have a heavy pass rush on third down unless it's third and long against us. If we're running our game, Compton can hold up for 3 seconds. The Brunskill can hold up for 3 seconds. That's how we got to the NFC Championship with such a weak right side.
Right.
So if you don't have that run-first mentality, that may be why Banks is struggling. No evidence, but that may be the struggle where most people say, well, what's his drop back? How's he going from right guard to left guard? In the running game, it don't matter. Bulldoze that guy, get to the linebacker, move on to the next play. So I'm curious in that regard too. So I don't know the answer because this is a weird year in free agency.
And there's so much that has to happen. Yeah, totally. HR coming in, looking at the draft, Linderbaum, and then we have GD5 saying it could already be on the roster. They could move Jalen Moore inside if needed, especially with them signing McKivitz today for the backup right tackle spot. That Niner guy, I see you shaking your head. Are you viewing that as potentially the Niners going real cheap and saying, hey, we already got the dude on the roster?
Well, the hard part is they already have 8 linemen on the roster.
Yes.
You know, so, and the Niners usually carry 9. So realistically, you got one spot. And if it's already probably, if it's going to be Lakin, they're set. Now, they could draft a guy. That definitely could happen. But I genuinely feel like if they draft Lakin, Aaron and Jalen Moore are going to be fighting for the right tackle spot. And then they'll draft a center day 3 to try and be a groom into that role. Because let's face it, guys, we all know Kyle loves playing rookies.
Right.
He loves playing rookies. He does it all the time.
He puts them in all the time without any evidence of them beating out the veteran.
Yeah, he puts them in all the time. You know, that's the thing. It's like, it's different for Kyle than other teams.
Yeah.
He doesn't play rookies. And even he only played Debo and Ayuk because he was forced to. He didn't have a choice. And same with Pettis. So that's the thing with Kyle is that I feel like he wants to develop guys. Now, I feel like they're starting to draft better in general. I think this last draft group is going to, the whole, be a better group. They go sign someone big? Yeah, but I don't think so. I think they're going to just save one spot for a rookie.
An interesting name to look at later in the draft because he's so undersized. But when you hear him talk about moving leverage and getting outside position, I mean, just a wildly intelligent dude is the center from Boston College, Alec Lindstrom. That'll be an interesting one to watch because he is really undersized. The measurements did not do him any favors at the combine, but extremely intelligent and probably will be effective in a Kyle Shanahan type system.
If I would say, if you're a Niner fan, you're wondering if Mac retires, what they do, I do think they're going to draft Donovan West. With their first
Donovan West out of ASU?
He's really good.
Yes.
I was genuinely impressed with his tape because I think he's really big, really fast, really long, really athletic.
Yeah.
And
that was one of Brad Graham's guys. So I was watching him at the combine as well.
Yeah. How do you look?
I thought he was good. I mean, definitely came across sharp in the presser and did well in the drills as well. I mean, I wasn't as blown away as I was by Cole Strange, but I also do think that Donovan is probably going to be had later in the draft. So
I think they're both going to be right around 61.
Yeah. I do think that Cole has climbed there for sure.
Yeah. So I think Cole's kind of got that Quentin Miners stalker eyes.
Yes.
And I think Donovan West is always kind of seen as a second round pick. So I think one of them will be there.
Yeah.
And so
I can't see, if we don't pick up another second, I'm not sure I can see us using our first overall pick on interior offensive line. To your point that the Niners may believe they already have those 8 offensive linemen on the frickin' books. I do want to get into Brendel's contract though, to see if they could still cut him. Like, what would the dead money look like? Because to me, I'm guessing it's close to a minimum deal and he could be released without much pain.
Yeah, it's probably not much, but I would say though, I've been looking at a lot of draft guys, right?
Yes.
And the way I'm feeling is, there's going to be a run on edge early. Like a big one. And then there's going to be a run on safeties and corners. And it might be best player available is the center.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, to me, if Boye Mafe or Benito are there on the edge, I'm looking at that. If Jalen Petrie is there at safety, I'm looking at that at 61. But I think there's a reasonable chance that all 3 of those guys and many more names, 58 names to be exact, are gone at that point, or 57 when we get to 61. It will be interesting. Edge definitely feels like one there's going to be a run on. LA Blue coming in with the super chat. Tennessee released Roger Saffold. He's solid. Definitely. It's interesting as we get closer, some names get added to free agency that weren't necessarily predicted to be free agents that are cap casualties. It will be fun to see how everything shakes out before the legal tampering period that begins Monday at 9 a.m., if I am correct on that one. All right, let us transition to another topic. I am looking in the chat to bring in a topic from the crowd. All right. I'm bringing in this one because it says at Rob. That's about as far as I got into it before deciding. This is the comment. So bear with me on this one. Melvin usually comes prepared, but this is what we're going with. Melvin coming in. At Rob. Oh, we just got a little bit of an echo. Was that William? Did you just change something up there?
I was getting a call. I had to mute it out.
I think it just put in an echo. Can anybody else hear an echo at this point? It may have just gone away.
Oh, you hear an echo?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold up. Try it up again. I'll mute you for now, and then I'll come back in. Okay, so what do you think of the idea as part of the trade for Jimmy that Darnold is part of the deal? Rosen was Kyle's reclamation project. That one failed. Maybe with Sam Darnold, it won't. All right, that Niner guy, we're going to start with you and give William a little bit of time as we come back around to reconfigure the audio and get it back to how it was, and then we'll bring him in. I can always mute myself while William's talking at the close here. We're down to the last 5 minutes anyways. That Niner guy, what are you thinking about it?
Oh, no. And I'm sorry, no. It just, no. Because why? He's $15 million.
Yeah, it's not a cheap option. You are taking a big swing on, what was a first-round talent, but it comes with a cost, and that's a big chunk of that money you're sending out with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like, people have tried to make Sam Darnold the thing, and it's not happening. He just wasn't that good, and that's okay. That happens to most quarterbacks taken in the first round. Just hope it's not Trey Lance. But, in general, that's usually what happens. But I would say I think the Niners' backup quarterback is going to be Nate Sudfeld. And
really? You think the Niners roll with freaking Nate Sudfeld and that's it? Because I did see, by the way, the terms came in. Matt Schuh put it in there for me. Shout out, Matt. $2 million for Nate Sudfeld's contract with the potential to bounce up to $3 million. And so, I mean, that's not starter money by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not practice squad money.
Yeah, the 2 is also fully guaranteed. So if they cut him, they have a dead cap hit.
Man. So I mean, that's an additional million, 1.1 million above and beyond the veteran min. And so that's real money that they're playing with there. That does indicate that there's at least a chance he makes the freaking 53.
Now, Sean, I think they're going to bring in someone else. I don't think it's just going to be Sudfeld. But I would say if push comes to shove, the money will tells it all. They're giving Sudfeld
always follow the money. Always follow the money. All right, Sean, what are you thinking about this?
Yes, I mean, it doesn't mean you're wrong in terms of Sudfeld, but it's the way Shanahan works. This is how he operates. I'm telling you, he has to have, if he has Jimmy gone and we're rolling with Lance on year 2, he's for damn sure got to make sure Sudfeld doesn't go anywhere, even to another practice squad. You have to have someone in there that knows your system. I don't care how bad you are. You have to have someone. You don't have CJ anymore. He's under contract. We're not bringing Nick Mullins because that's faithful go nuts. So you have Sudfeld. That's fine. Give him his $2 million, whatever it may be. He's going to be there. But our backup quarterback is not on our team yet. That's a guarantee. There's no way that Sudfeld's a plan. Sudfeld's a security blanket because if worst case scenario, something comes into play and he needs to become the backup like he was twice this year, at least we have someone who can hand the ball off and operate third down. That's all we need is that security blanket. But no.
You just sold me on the security blanket angle because I just can't see a scenario where you roll in with Lance and someone as unproven as Nate. But I struggle with the money because I do believe in following the money. And I think you've just convinced me that maybe there was a chance Nate was getting some sniffs from another team and the Niners needed to commit a little bit of money to have that security blanket. I kind of like that as a reason. William, how you feeling about this?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're golden right now.
No echo. All right.
No echo.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, someone was talking about a trade with Jimmy and Sam Darnold.
Out Jimmy to the Panthers and bringing Darnold back as a part of it, right? So you get Sam Darnold to then be your de facto backup quarterback. But as that Niner guy points out, it would come with a $15 million tag because that's his salary for next year.
No. I mean,
that was a hard pass. No, right there.
We the Washington Commanders. I mean,
right.
I mean,
very similar to what the Washington Commanders just did in bringing in trading for Carson Wentz. Yes,
that's like cutting your tail off to spite your face. Yeah. I would say I agree about Nate being there because he knows the system. Yes, he's unproven. Yes, he's our CJ Baffert, but he knows the system. Yes, I agree with Sean. Our our second is not on our team yet. Um, it could, and I don't think we're gonna spend a lot on him. I think it may be somebody that may be shocked. It could be Trubinsky. It could be as as like what's Bridgewater. It
Yes.
could be it's gonna be a true backup. Is I don't think it's gonna be somebody we're gonna spend a lot of money on. It's gonna be somebody that we can get for low money and that
I
can at
like
least
that.
win 3 games for us
Right.
if
That's
need
what you
be.
need. You need someone who can step in and win. We got to do a lightning round here because we got to wrap it up in about 2 minutes here because I got to jump. But I want to get your guys' take on if you could bring in any of the current available backup quarterbacks, who would you want to bring in if cost were not an object here? You have free reign to bring in anybody that you like. Let's start it back around to that Niner guy. Feel free to say Nate Sudfeld if that would be your preference. I doubt that it is, but if it were, that would be okay.
My big fear is with that signing with the guaranteed money is that the Niners are going to price themselves out of getting one of those veteran guys.
Right. Because it is like that
fear.
8 to 10 mil for a quality backup.
Exactly. So that's my fear. But I would bring in Case Keenum.
Ooh, Case Keenum. That's an interesting one. He's mobile, but he's not a running quarterback. He's definitely got some chops. He's got some experience. That's an interesting one that I hadn't considered. I like that. Sean,
well,
sorry, go ahead. That Niner guy.
I'll say real quick. He took a team to the playoffs and to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
He's an enigma a little bit. Like if you go back and follow his career, there are times where he really shines and times where you're like, oh, yeah, nope, that's the guy that I thought he was.
Yep.
Sean 951, what are you thinking? Quick hitter.
That Niner guy, I mean, so did Jimmy G and Kirk Cousins, but nobody wants them. So I would say your original guy from a month ago, Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
The reason I bring him up more than anything is because I also want to use realistic in this too. I don't know if Keenum will be available or not because I don't think anybody's going after Keenum, now. But I'd say Tyrod Taylor is the most because I think he could actually jump right back into our system and we can keep the same Trey Lance style offense, not the Jimmy G style, but the Trey Lance style that we're yet to see. We're going to find out week one. I think that would be the smartest thing because at the end of the day, Tyrod Taylor's proven no matter where he goes, he still can get W's. Doesn't mean he's going to blow anybody out, but he can still get W's. And he's a great teammate from what everybody
That's what I was going to say. He's a locker room dude. I love it, Sean. I think that's my top pick. William, give me 30 seconds. Who you got?
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 names real fast. I'm going to go with Sean with Tyrod Taylor. If not Tyrod Taylor, Teddy Bridgewater.
Ooh, I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. I got Tyrod Taylor at the front there. The other name I'm going to throw out there, just because I was so impressed by speaking with him at the combine, Robert Griffin III. I know that it's an unlikely scenario and people wouldn't like it, and there's the drama with Shanahan, but I would freaking love it. And the guy is just so personable. Anyway, I'm sticking with Tyrod Taylor because that's more likely. I got to run because I got something I'm bumping up against. I love the freaking panel. This is the way I want to end every freaking call-in show is with you 3 gentlemen on the panel here with me. I'm just delighted by it. I am grateful that you guys are able to join the program. As always.
Come on, Niner guy.
Cheers, 49er faithful.
That was awesome.
All right. I will be back tomorrow with Jack Hammer on the program at 3 p.m. and I'll be on Grant's channel in the morning. Until then, cheers, faithful.